Oh, J-Pal, you really got me good this morning. I thought we were homies. I thought we were friends. I thought we were bulls together. You told me to buy. You told me to get long. And the market just crashed. J-Pal, what went wrong today? So today, J-Pal spoke. This is the, Jerome Powell, the man, the myth, the legend. He spoke at, I think in Montana or wherever, some conference about money. And he talked about inflation being a big issue and blah, blah, blah. And, well, it wasn't good news. And the market was not excited for that news. So today, we learned a really good lesson. And I'm going to talk about this in this video. I'm going to talk about the lesson. I'm going to show you guys a couple little trades here. The live stream is there. We gave away a $100,000 Combine account on the live stream this morning. So that's there if you want to go watch the live stream, see all the action. But in general, definitely a just insane day in the markets. And, well, I really blew it. I really blew it this morning. And even though I'm green, I'm just not very happy about it. I'm not happy about it at all. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're looking for a short right now. Trying to get this move down below the 17s. We pushed up to resistance, previous resistance area. Now looking for this to turn down and retest those lows down there at the 4,100 area. Would be my target on this. So we'll see if we can get a move here to the downside. Obviously, we want to see that move to the downside. Down to the 15s now. Can we get this to shell through here? Let's see. Some buyers popping up there on the book map right now. We got the EMAs there at the 1920 level. Looking for this to dump, baby. Just dump on me. Dump it on down. Dump it on down. Dump it down, Billy. Let me put my hands up in the air and make it say dump it, dump it, dump it, dump it. There we go. 15s now. I like to see, like I said, down there to this low. Down to the 13, 12 area. I'm going to take a little off right there at the 15s just in case we bounce here. Just to reduce some risk. Keep it green. And then basically I move my stop here to almost break even for now. Maybe a little bit above there. Do the 1850s for my stop on this. I'll move my stop up just a little bit, just so we're above those EMAs there is what I want to be careful with. I don't want just to get stopped out just because we're getting some stupid spike back up and then get stuck at the EMAs anyway and we sell off. So just going to give myself a little bit of wiggle room there. See if we can crack through this 15 level next and keep moving lower here. There we go. Through the 15s now, down to the 14s. Let's keep this going. I'm going to move my stop down here a little bit, just taking off more risk. Try to get to the point where we're basically at break even here. Just in case. Just in case this thing rips up, I don't want to give back any more profits. There it is, 14s. This thing's kind of like just chopping around down here. Let's see this move lower. I'd like to get a break from below the 14s right now. There we go. Take a little bit off right there. Well, I tried to. I'm going to take one off there at the 14s now. Hold the rest. Down there to at least the 11s. We'll say 12s. We'll put an order there at 12. Or 1175. 1175. I'll take the 1175. And ding, 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 ding. Almost there. Almost there. 1175. Oh my gosh. Is the screen even? There we go. There the 1175. Beautiful. I'm going to lock in that profit. There we go. Locking in that profit there on that trade. Up on the day. We're up $1,715. We're up $1,750. It was definitely a battle today, my friends. We had a big move up pre-market on the ES, pushed up to that 42.17 area. We then pulled back into open. And then at 10 a.m., I was thinking like, hey, we're going to push. Like Jerome's going to say that the moon, the market's going to go to the moon and we're going to just squeeze. And well, as you can see, we did not get that. We actually got a big, huge pullback. Another squeeze up and then just dumped all day long down there to the 106s now. So interesting move, definitely interesting as we had that huge dump there at open. Huge dump from the 198s down there to the 60s. We bounced, we squeezed back up here, and then we just literally sold off. And you're thinking, looking at the chart like, oh, wow, Patrick must have killed it. He must have just shorted this thing and made so much money, right? Like he must have just really walked away with just lots and lots of profit after that move because it was so obvious in hindsight. And in hindsight, it's the easiest move ever. Like, oh, wow, that's almost too easy. Like, what was I doing? But the problem is, I'll tell you what happened today. What did I do wrong? After, obviously you see the chart now. You guys already know what the market did, so it's not like I need to sit here and analyze every little move in the market. I mean, the market went down. It squeezed back up for a second and then just got hammered pretty much below the EMAs all day there on the 3-minute chart, and just, doop, down there to the 106s now. So looking like it still wants to go lower. I don't even think this is over yet. I think the selling continues. Here. So that was the big kind of move of the day. You guys basically probably already know kind of what went down, but what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong here? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the issues here. The big issue this morning for me personally, this morning was, number one, I went into the market with this like bias of like, the market's going to go up. Why did I have that bias? I'm like, Jerome, Powell's going to speak. He's going to pump the market to the moon. We're going, 4,300 today. But instead, the opposite happened. And, well, it caught me off guard. Because instead of me being prepared for, either a short or for a long, in my head, all I was thinking about was like, I'm getting long. And I kept trying longs. I kept trying these longs. I'm like, especially like before the speech even happened, I was like trying longs, which was a terrible idea. I should have just been way more patient there. But in general, having that bias, right? Like having any type of bias going into the market, really, there was no reason. There was no reason for me to have a bias. I should have just waited and been patient and been like, hey, no matter what happens, I'm going to trade the action. I don't really care if it goes up. I don't care if it goes down. I don't really care, what happens here. The problem is I don't want to have a bias, right? Like I don't want to basically tilt to one side or the other until we like have a setup, until we have a move. Like once we see a setup, once we see like, oh, look, we're stuck at the EMAs. Oh, we're selling off, blah, blah, blah. Like once I see the setup, then I can kind of create a bias based on that setup. Like what is the chart telling me? But just having a bias because I'm like, Jerome Powell is going to speak. Like having that's not a good plan. Like that's not a good trade. Like that is a terrible trade for me. And that's exactly what I got. I 100% did that. I went into the market with that bias of like, I'm looking to get long. And I talked about it in the stream. I was like, I'm looking to get long. I want to get long here because this thing's going to the moon. So in my head, no matter what happened, even if it was a short, all I'm thinking in my head, the emotion, the focus at that point, once I'm that like convinced that it's going to go higher, like I'm telling myself like it's going to go higher. Jay Powell speaking, he's going to pump the market. We know how it works. Market's going to get pumped to the moon. Well, instead, guess what happened? Like I said, the market obviously sold off. It's down 2.2% on the day. So it did the exact opposite. And at that point, what did I do? I basically, missed out on the beautiful short opportunity. I missed out on a massive short opportunity because, again, my bias. I had a bias, and basically me taking longs at open, me trying to get those longs, trying to force those trades, then stopped me from seeing the opportunity with the short because I'm like, instead of me focusing and being like, oh, look, like this looks like a really good short. All I'm thinking is, nah, no way, man. Jay Powell's going to pump this thing to the moon. And that was, my big issue of the day. And that's pretty much why we ended up where we ended up. So, even though we're green in the day, like I should have had a much better day. At least not giving back like any profits. I should have just been like, hey, look at this setup, boys. Look at this setup. It's a short. I'm getting short. I should have just been very consistent in that idea. So that's the lesson for you guys going into the market. Like, why did I have any bias? Like, why did I think that I could predict what the future was going to hold? Instead of me waiting and being like, oh, there's a setup, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for this setup. Instead of me doing that, well, I ended up just having a bias and, screwing myself there on that move. So I missed out on, the big good move. I missed out on the actual, like, the meat of the move because of the bias. Having that bias basically just made it so that I couldn't focus and couldn't actually see like, hey, look, I probably should be getting short instead of getting long. So rule of the day, or new story, or the lesson of the day, I guess, is no bias. It doesn't matter what news is coming out. It doesn't matter who's talking. All that matters is the chart. What does the chart tell us? What is the setup? Is there a setup? Number one. And